What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to ABJ Presents Tornado Tag. We are covering the history of the Cruiserweight Championship. What's going on, everybody? ABJ, BP Burke, and Lilly on the call tonight. How you been, bud?
I've been all right. Trying not to freeze, so I'm spending a lot of time indoors because I think it's a whopping 9 degrees outside right now.
Yes. Real quick, before we get anything started, huge thank you to the newest member of the channel. Anthony Lanetti became a YouTube channel member, which is super exciting. Thank you so much. We have been doing pretty well with the live stream. So Tornado Tag is looking like we might try to move to 6 o'clock on Tuesdays. That being is because listen, I'm not trying to be a money grab here, but I mean, a couple bucks here and there does help. And we are trying to grow this. And the more we can bring in monetarily on this channel, the cooler things we can do. That's our goal, right? But we're still making content that we want to make. We're not, you know what I mean? It's essentially, if you want to support, you can. And one of the things that we've been doing that has been helping this channel is the live streams, where people are really enjoying the live streams and they help. So if I set a goal like, hey, if I get 5 super chats, 5 memberships, 5 t-shirt sales, whatever it may be, and we can see it visibly, I will do a post show and I will open it up that other people can come in and chat. And it's been working. I think the 3 times I did it, I think I did a post show twice. So right, pretty good odds, you know. But so, and then once we get this job going and get some paychecks flowing, we will be doing some I'm going to resubscribe to independent wrestling television because there's some stuff on there I want to watch. I'm going to resubscribe to TNA and ROH so we can do more of those content as well. And that also means we can go back and do old watch-alongs and stuff. So we may still do review shows with BP where we do like the end of the month, Royal Rumble 2000, right? We're going to still do a review show of that. But I think what we're also going to do is we're going to pre-record it and put it out maybe the next day or Thursday, where it's me and Lilly recording ourselves doing a watch along, watching it. Like we just set the cameras up, we turn the pay-per-view on and we watch it and we give our takes. And then you kind of get to hear the podcast review. And then we go back and you can watch the watch along with us. So you can go on your TV, hit play button when we hit play, and then watch along. And then
I've already watched a little bit of that back, and that show is a doozy. Yeah, that is a very 2000 WWE show, for better or worse.
I love that. So, oh my god, I just realized Mick's banner is now the Graveyard Shift. That's hilarious. And Anthony in the chat saying what's up. Thank you. Well, actually, which one was that? The ABJ JP. I don't know what JP is. I don't know my own emojis. I can't see it on StreamYard, so I don't know what emoji you put up, but thank you. But yeah, so we do have that going on. I would like to do some watch alongs with you. Maybe we can figure out a way to meet up somewhere and do it and watch it. But I think it'd be fun to rewatch stuff. But we can do them this way too. Like, I don't know, can you put something on your TV and then be on your computer? And
yeah. Just don't know how it will sync up.
Yeah. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll just hit like 3, 2, 1 play or something. I don't know. We'll even if we're off by a hair, it's not going to make a huge difference, but we'll have some fun. And football's almost over for one of us sooner than the other. So,
well, even in the most ideal circumstance, one of our teams has 1 game left and one of our teams has 2 games left.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, no matter what, it's not going to be much longer.
I will say this. We actually thought of doing a secondary piece of content a week where we talk football, because we kind of were like,
this is not the time to start that.
No, but like we both have 2 decent teams that are worth talking about, for better or for worse, and we kind of put it off and we didn't do it. And boy, would this season been a time to do it, huh?
No, it wouldn't. It would. Because it would have been. This would have been the last episode. This would have been.
This would have been the next one would have been the last episode of us being like, "Fuck you, fuck your team."
It's not going to end well either way. It's just not going to.
I will say this. I'm going to say this right now. The winner of this game, I'm rooting for, better or worse, to go win the Super Bowl, unless maybe the Bills make it.
I would say, yeah, screw the Chiefs. But
the only other team that I can on that other side that I'm like, if they win, go Bills. You know what I mean? Because they've never done it. Bills and Eagles, I'm gonna say right now, from a pro wrestling standpoint,
The
Van,
party Super Bowl
is the best Super Bowl outcome of all time.
In New Orleans, which is currently under like a foot of snow. But anyway, in New Orleans,
Yeah.
the two craziest fan bases in football will be something.
But I'm very happy that my team is where it is. One of my teams is already embarrassed, right? National championship once again. I get to watch a national championship. They tried to make a run back, but it wasn't enough. Too much time, not enough time. So we're already 1-for-1 when it comes to my sports teams making it far and losing. But even if we lose this weekend, I'm not devastated. Well, here's the only problem is I'm gonna be at work the whole time. I will not know who wins that game until 7:30 at night. Like when I walk out on my at the end of my shift, I look at my phone and I say, "Am I in the Super Bowl or not?" You know what I mean?
You're gonna look at your phone and you're gonna know very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I leave it turned off in my car, so I go in my job. It's actually pretty nice to just leave your phone off and not look at it really for 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there when you're on your 2 breaks, and then just go and do your job. Like I never really had that for a while because you can't have them in the building. I mean, people sneak them in, but I'm not risking it. I want a paycheck.
Turn my mic on. Let's rephrase that for a minute. You can't say you never had that in a job. You've had plenty of jobs where you weren't supposed to have your phone with you. You just chose not to.
This is the job where
they're like, you can't.
You have to go through a metal detector
or not.
Yeah, and if you get caught with it, they will walk. Like you don't even have to be caught on it using it.
Right, just having it.
If you have it and security catches you, they can terminate you on the spot, which is insane to me. But it is what it is. But yeah, so I don't have it, which is pretty cool. So I can just kind of, but that game is going to be a lot of stress of just like turning my phone on and then all the notifications of either ha 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 f you or I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Either way, it's going to be. I will definitely know before I turn my app on.
It's going to be wild. Yeah, it's going to be a wild one.
Probably the only game I'll watch the replay of. I'll probably come home and watch the replay.
The closest thing I have to that is when I was working third shift in 2008, and 2008 is when the Phillies won the World Series. It was the first time any of my teams have ever won a championship. Was 25 years old. It took that long, and I was listening to the game on the radio, and in the break room at where I worked, there was a little tiny like rabbit ear antenna TV, like maybe a 13-inch TV in the break room. And I got into the break room just in time to see the final out of the 2008 World Series.
Oh, nice. That's sick. Yeah. This is not sports or wrestling related, but at this point, it is what it is. So we're also making some modifications to the channel a little bit. We've been having a hard time finding the algorithm using and finding us and getting us out there for this channel. So what I'm going to try to do as well is I'm going to reinstitute the old YouTube channel. Everything's still going to be here live. Nothing here changes for you guys. But if you'd like to help the other YouTube channel out as well, under the links below on YouTube, you can hit accounts you would like to follow, and you can still search Tornado Tag and it'll pop up on YouTube. It won't be podcast anymore. I am going to change that logo. But we are going to start reintroducing older episodes than when we started 3 years ago, when it was just me and BP and not the team. But you can still go see all the old episodes with us and the whole old team and do that. I'm very proud of all that stuff. There's cool interviews with Carrie Silken on there and some of our backstage stuff that we did. Like there's a lot of Chris Van Vliet. Yeah, it's all there. Check it out. Andy and Kelly, or we have mend fences that were kind of down before, but like there's no beef. I would have Andy and Kelly on tomorrow if they really wanted to come on and hang out with us. There's nothing against that, but it is very, very hard to run 5 podcasts with 5 different people.
Yeah.
And organize times for every single person to work and for every time to work. It's challenging. It's a lot easier with a smaller team. And then if people want to come and go, they can. That's kind of where we are right now. You know what I mean?
Lately, the only time Voltron has assembled has been at PPW shows.
Yeah, really. It's wild because like everything has changed for a lot of us from the podcast from the before. Kelly photography has really picked up. She's doing awesome there.
Yeah.
You are now a booker and running a company. Andy is traveling more than ever, hitting the gym more, his job, it's wild,
Yeah, Austin is in the ring. So yeah,
Austin's now, 2-time champion of Sanctuary and in the ring. Yeah. That Ben guy, who knows? That's the only one I don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully he's doing well.
It's been a wild time.
Crazy. The only thing that like it's funny to me, I still have the table, right? The table, the podcast arms, the whole thing. I don't have all the microphones. I sold a bunch of them off, but I do have. So this is just a fun thing that only BP will like. See that PVC rod?
Oh yeah,
That's still the same PVC rod that was used to hold up the curtains in the living room. I'm in the kitchen. So we used to record this. I was in the kitchen. I literally turned a kitchen into a podcast studio. Me and my ex wife at the time did. She did a great job. It looked really good. But yeah, that's where we used to record it. But yeah, so the old channel will start getting some older content pumped back into it. I'm probably gonna do like 2 a week just to see what the algorithm pumps up. And hey, if that channel blows up and we get a like crazy number of subscribers and viewers, that will be the new channel where things go live on. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like we're gonna ride that one out, but we'll see how it goes. But that's gonna be the case for I probably will do ABJ podcast. We'll retake over interviews with everyday people. That'll probably start putting interviews over there. Not Cool in High School will still be Not Cool in High School. I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna make that horror and Not Cool in High School, or if I just leave them separate. I don't know yet. Maybe keep them the same. I'm not sure. Because I don't really have a lot of horror content to start a new channel right now anyway. And then Banging Beers, we could put stuff out. And then I think I'm going to make a clips channel that's just going to be dedicated to our shorts and clips and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got when it comes to like new stuff with this channel. If you want to go grab some merchandise and t-shirts, go grab it. We do have some ABJ Raw, SmackDown, AEW logos coming. But we just have to upscale them a little bit. They look a little rough at the moment, but then also I think we have to make a newer NXT one because NXT now changed their logo. They're like black and silver or something.
They change your logo like every 2 years.
Yeah, it changes a lot. But wrestling news, let's kind of get into our topic. We're not jumping in right away, but we're just getting the housekeeping out. But a lot of wrestling news. TNA, WWE merging.
Well, merging's a little strong.
Partnership
means, yeah. Merging usually means they're becoming
probably
one company.
pending merging.
Yeah, at some point, Anthem's just going to sell it. It seems like, which I never really thought of like what's in it for WWE, and I still don't really see what's in it for WWE. Other than no, what are they going to do with that? Like, we don't sell DVDs anymore. I don't think Peacock or Netflix or whoever is going to buy their streaming deal, which is currently with Peacock next year, is going to pay an extra dime for TNA. If it's pennies on the dollar, then maybe it's worth it. But right now, it just seems like it gets some access to people. It's a feeder system for them.
Yep.
Because there's rumors about them buying Ring of Honor years ago, and I was like, well, no, we'll just let them go out of business because there's not really anything in it for us anymore. The tape library thing was important 20 years ago when you could. Like they paid for WCW many times over just from DVD sales, just from the Ric Flair compilations, just from ECW. Same thing. That Rise and Fall of ECW DVD sold hundreds of thousands of copies. It paid for them buying ECW out of bankruptcy. But I don't think that return on investment is there for TNA right now. It's assets they can put into a video game. It's assets they can. It's little things like that. Unless this Vault channel on YouTube really kicks off and they're making enough money from YouTube ad revenue that it's not part of a tape library, it's not part of a streaming deal, it's not part of this or that. It's just that they can put it up on YouTube and just get the ad revenue. And over time, maybe that is enough if they're getting TNA for, a few $100,000.
Hey, go watch old AJ Styles matches.
Yeah. And because that WWE Vault thing, that's my favorite thing. But yeah, I think right now, at least, it's going to be more of a here's a way for us because they have a lot of people and not enough time in NXT to really get a lot of them to learn how to wrestle on TV. Because there's one thing you can learn how to work in. You can learn how to work in the training center and on those small spot shows we do in Florida. You can learn a little bit of how to work, and you can learn the fundamentals, the concepts of working on TV. But nothing is going to help you learn how to work on TV like working on TV. I think it's very similar to Evolve before Evolve went belly up, where they had Austin
Theory. That might be coming back too.
Yeah, they might be calling it NXT Evolve, and Gabe's already working with them, so a lot of the pieces are there already.
Now, what about the rumors of Scott getting hired? Do you think that's a thing?
Oh, Scott D'Amore? Possibly. I would look into it, and I wonder how much of it is if they bring him in. Are they setting up like a system very similar to baseball, because I believe I don't remember the exact name of Scott D'Amore's company in Canada now. I think it might be Maple Leaf Wrestling. It is something very Canada centric, but that could be your single A ball, and then TNA can be your double A ball, and then NXT is your triple A ball, and then you make the big leagues of Raw and SmackDown. So I could see something like that happening, or because it would be odd if because they already have Gabe Sapolsky. If you're going to do NXT Evolve, you would think Gabe Sapolsky would be the one running it, unless Shawn Michaels is going to take some kind of more senior position.
So the rumor is that this is the rumor innuendo online dirt sheet bullshit, but that Scott would take over NXT.
Mm-hmm.
TNA's out of this loop at this point. This wasn't part of the whole conversation. This is pre this. Shawn takes over either Raw or SmackDown, and Triple H takes over either Raw or SmackDown. So one show is ran by Shawn, one show is ran by Triple H.
Well, if there's at least one segment every week on Raw or SmackDown where there's like bad porn level acting and set design, then we know Shawn has taken over one of the shows. But NXT is fine. I'm giving Shawn a hard time, but NXT is fine. NXT has gotten much better. I'm more excited to see, like, Roxanne Perez was in the crowd for the Bayley Nia Jax match. Seems like they are really heavily teasing something with Bayley.
Yeah.
So if she's moving up, that's going to be something interesting.
Cora Jade showed up at TNA.
Oh, did she? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cora Jade showed up at TNA. Somebody else did too. Hold on. Masha Slamovich showed up on NXT.
Yeah, that I do remember. Yes.
Who all showed up? PCO destroyed the TNA championship and said he don't like the way they did Scott dirty, and he smashed the belt.
Oh yeah, and apparently a lot of that was a shoot. Like, it's not the real belt; it was a replica. They're saying they still have the title, but he had one show left on his deal, and he was going to come in and drop it, and he just showed up at GCW and smashed it with a sledgehammer. If we're going to talk about that show, the horrible thing is the injury to Ali Ketch.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I definitely want to talk about that. So if you're TNA Genesis, right?
Well, that was a GCW.
No, I'm sorry. JBL showed up.
JBL shows up everywhere. I think JBL is going to show up on this show.
Yeah, he might.
Which one of us is taking the clothesline from hell?
I'll take it. Ashanti Theodonis, Nathan Frazier, Axum, and Cora Jade all showed up at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, they're not really doing anything with Hit Row, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so they showed up at the TNA pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who gets looks where, who shuffled where. Yeah.
To bounce back, I know we're not a huge channel. We don't get a lot of eyes, but the ones that do, if you have the funds to do so, Allie can definitely use your help right now. She's not gonna make money for quite some time. 2 bones broken in her leg. Went for a suicide dive in the championship main event match at GCW in the Hammerstein Ballroom, which was the big return show for GCW. A lot on the line, a lot at stake. Goes for a suicide dive, and just her leg goes underneath her incorrectly, and she ends up like sitting on her own ankle, and you can hear it on it sounded like a baseball bat snapped in half. And she immediately knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't see how the match ended or how they did it. I just seen Effie celebrating, but I just seen she sat there and they immediately brought a stretcher over and got her out of there.
I did not either.
Yeah, it's in my plans to
watch. That was
the show in general, not just because of that, just to watch the show in general, maybe do a watch along with it. But yeah, so it was rough. Her prayers out to her. If you have any a couple extra bucks, shoot over to her GoFundMe, or go buy some t-shirts or merchandise from Pro Wrestling Tees for our GCW.com or wherever you want to get them, and support Alley Catch.
The good news is I just checked. They are now they are less than $100 away from their goal of 50,000. They are at $49,105. So
she's a good person, man. A lot of people are going to help out.
Yeah, a lot of obviously the famous wrestlers stepped up as they usually do.
Maybe Deppen will make an alley beer, and then all proceeds of the beer, and we can go drink all the beers, and then that's our way of helping.
That's or you can just throw a few bucks your way.
Yeah, but it's more fun to drink a beer in donation.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can pretend that's what it's for.
Yeah,
they have they have a what do they have now that I'm like obsessed with? I forget. It's a It's a Dole Whip sour.
Oh, interesting. I haven't been there in a minute, so we have to once we get a couple paychecks again, we will be there. I'm trying to keep Thursdays open, but also like I really want to watch TNA on Thursdays too. I want to start doing those live streams because I'm trying anything. I want to grow. I want to get this channel popping off, you know.
I hear you.
All right. Anything else in this week in wrestling?
Mainstream, no. I mean, we had fun. I think we both had a good time over the weekend at our little wrestling thing. Little, it wasn't very little. It wasn't very little. It was pretty big, actually. Like I was
biggest house as a booker.
I was a little overwhelmed by the crowd. Like it was, we knew it was going to be a big show. Like all the business metrics leading up to it were like, okay, this is going to be something. But good experience. So it was a good experience all around. Like every show you go into has hiccups, but it was a fun time. The crowd really
watched you. It was fun to watch. I like watching you in that capacity at shows because you're always for years just been very laid back, calm, cool, collect. Whatever happens, happens. And like you generally give a shit. And it's fun to like watch you. Like you walk around and you gauge the crowd. You listen to what they're doing, what they're liking, what they're not liking. I've seen you talking to talent and trying to put out fires or helping them or to guide them or dealing with all of that work as a in your role. And you're killing it, man. I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you. No, it was a show I was pretty happy with. Like obviously there's things that you would like to have back or things that get changed around or things you would like to have done differently. But again, what at the end of the day, what matters is did the crowd have a good time? And it seems like everybody did. And the guy everybody came to see, Matt Riddle, delivered a great performance with VSK. Met with a lot of fans, made a lot of nights, a lot of people
seemed to
have a positive response.
Crazy.
It was
a homecoming show for him.
Yeah, definitely. That was cool too because he is originally from like that Allentown area, so it was a cool thing. And
picked his brain a little bit. I asked him some interesting questions. I asked him if he ever would go back to mixed martial arts, and he goes, "I would love to. I would love to get back into a cage and fight." He goes, "The only problem is like where I would make the most money. I'm obviously not welcome there." And he's like, probably a huge reason why I'm not back in the E is because that whole merger. But he's like, it just doesn't make as much sense for me to go to a wrestling show and get paid probably double what I would make to go physically fight somebody.
And right. Like, and you have to do that camp and you have to hire trainers. You have to do a million things where
he's like, it just doesn't financially doesn't make sense for me to go back to mixed martial arts because I would love to. I'd love to compete like that again, but it just I'm doing better in the wrestling scene. Also, for the video watchers there, up next to the ECW television champion, that's not a UFC title, that's the bro title. So I got an autographed belt from Matt Riddle, so that's kind of cool.
Ruda Entertainment coming through again in the clutch there. Did a great job with those titles. Did a great job with keeping everything moving, keeping a very busy meet and greet going. And just a good time was had by all. And absolutely, and
keeping the line moving.
And just to give him his flowers, Matt Riddle couldn't have been easier to work with. Couldn't have been easier to kind of get everything done with. Anything we asked him, and we asked a lot of him. He was doing a lot, so
signed a lot of extra.
He was A plus.
I couldn't partake with him, unfortunately. I came to go grab him so me and Ruda can meet him outside to have one, and he's like, "Bro, I just came back inside and I'm freezing." But I heard you snuck out there.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Bastard. But what I did do is right as I was leaving, because I had work the next day, I said, unfortunately, Matt, I can't hang around until you're done all your things to enjoy one with you. That was my goal tonight. But here's the one I wanted to enjoy with you. And I left it with him. And he goes, thanks, bro. So I hooked him up. I hooked him up with a parting gift from PPW. I gave him a little wrapper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
not from PPW for me, but for coming to PPW. Yeah,
fun time, and we are back in action. I mean, Matt Riddle won't be there, but we will be back in action at the Sladyton Expo Center on the 15th of February for Live and Learn. Live and Learn is going to be our next show, and one of the things I'm already really happy about, and this is why you do a show like that and you bring in somebody and you take that risk, is we've had a few ticket sales, a few orders of people who that was their first PPW show or their first PPW show in a long time.
Yeah.
And it was all about leaving. And it's one of the weirdest things I have to do now is I have to make that locker room speech. I have sometimes it's Paul, sometimes it's me. But this time I had to make that locker room speech, and obviously thanking Riddle for the house. And then it was like, they might be, a lot of people may have come to see him, but they're going to stay to see you, and they're going to stay to see the rest of the crowd or the rest of the locker room. And they showed up and showed out, and I was very happy for them.
Yeah, totally. There was a lot of fun things on the show. A lot of things I thought went really, really well. I got to experience one of my worst heckling fans at the old venue. He came back to this venue. He definitely came for the name. Matt Riddle was there, but he was the old Broadheadsville guy that was at this one. But do you remember the fan who used to come with a wind-up camera?
Yes.
He showed up. I haven't seen him in forever.
Yeah.
And when he handed me, I seen him. I go, oh, I always harass. Oh, you again. And he was like, I hate you. Like he just like me and him had this rivalry just for meet and greets. Like he never even listened to me on commentary to know if I was good or bad or if I just always roasted him. And everyone loves hearing us go, but he goes to hand me what I thought was going to be his wind-up camera, and he hands me a digital phone. I go,
oh, he upgraded.
I was like, what happened to you? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're not giving me that piece of shit wind up. He goes, just take the goddamn photo. Oh man, but it was really, really, really cool. So that was a fun moment. But yeah, I enjoy doing meet and greets. I like to watch how a wrestler reacts to the fans. I like to pick their brain a little bit in between sessions. It's a cool way to see them from another perspective and get to really, really see what they're all about. But Matt was fine. I mean, I didn't really probably pick his brain like I wanted to, or have a lot, because it was packed. People were really, really pumped for him.
Right. It was busy. It was very busy.
Yeah,
it's funny. I don't get a chance to do those that often anymore because I have so many other things to do. But the last meet and greet line I ever worked, and it wasn't even for PPW, but it was with Eric Bischoff of all people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you did the meet and greet for that one.
I actually tagged in. Paul tagged out and tagged me in for like 10 minutes because he wanted to go do something else to prep for commentary or something. Gotcha.
All right, well, we gave you a little bit longer of an intro to this show, so let's dive into the topic of today, the now WWE Cruiserweight Championship, but we're going to start it back to the WCW era. But yeah, we're just gonna say the Cruiserweight Championship in general. But this is a title that ran from 1996 to 2007. The WWE Cruiserweight Championship is a professional wrestling championship originally used in World Championship Wrestling, later the World Wrestling Federation, and it was contested by wrestlers under 225 pounds, billed as cruiserweights. The following acquisition of WCW, then by WWF in 2001, it became WWF. Later, than WWE Championship replaced the WWF Lightweight Championship, light heavyweight championship during the brand extension. It was the only title to be exclusive to SmackDown during its entire tenure. So that's kind of just a quick rundown or overview of the title. Let's dive into it, BP, and have some fun here.
Yeah, so this is one of those throwbacks to something that you don't really get a lot in professional wrestling, which is weight classes. And it was something that was a little more of a thing during the days of kayfabe. In kayfabe, certain areas, certain territories would have like a junior heavyweight division. Danny Hodge was very famously a multi-time NWA junior heavyweight champion. And it was more so like nobody could really believe that, a big guy like Fritz Von Erich and a smaller guy who might be a little more undersized could be in the same playing field.
Yeah.
So they would have like
we're on the same page. Fritz Von Erich was the dad, right? Dad Von Erich. Okay.
Yes, the dad from the Iron Claw. He was like or even like Dick the Bruiser or the Crusher, like bigger guys like that. You had some guys like Vern Gagne, but Vern Gagne wasn't a small guy, and in certain places where people would like the entire territory was small guys, like the USWA. But weight classes were never a firm thing like boxing, but sometimes, especially if you had a star like a Danny Hodge, you had a strong junior heavyweight division. And Japan had it a lot too, and Mexico, it was huge because Mexico, one of the sports in Mexico that has such a really deep, rich history is boxing. So they are very, very they were very, very accustomed in Lucha Libre to have weight classes. In fact, I think the middleweight championship was the most famous championship, more so than like a heavyweight title. And but nowadays, even there, especially with AAA, they have like more traditional American style heavyweight titles. Maybe not so much CMLL, but the bigger companies as time went on kind of dabbled in this. WWF had a light heavyweight title. In fact, it's the same one they brought back later, but they had it for a little bit in the early 80s, and it wound up over in Japan. We're actually going to talk about that in a little bit. And then in a little bit deeper into the 80s, the AWA had a light heavyweight title, and it was usually either Steve Regal, but not that Steve Regal, not William Regal, the other Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity, or a guy we probably shouldn't talk a lot about, Buck Zumoff. It was usually one of those two guys that had that title. And then the next time it comes around, and this is the first time I'm really cognizant of as a fan, is in WCW before this. And it's funny because I believe WWE considers this part of the Cruiserweight title lineage now, but it was a completely separate title. They had a light heavyweight title from like 1991 through the end of 1992. And like the Cruiserweight title, a lot of it was born out of their working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, where Brian Pillman wins the tournament for that light heavyweight title. And it's mainly something for a while he defends against Jushin Liger in Japan, and Liger wins it. And I forget which Super Brawl it was. I think it was Super Brawl 2. It might have been Super Brawl 1, but I think it was 2. Pillman and Liger opened that show, and that match blew me away. And you watch that match back now, it's still a great match. It's a match where if this is your intro to like junior heavyweight wrestling, you're gonna you can understand why people who are used to like more plotting guys, even people who are good wrestlers like Ric Flair, but these guys are doing things that like one's jumping off the top rope, the other one picks him out of the air with a drop kick. You didn't see that stuff. Yeah. You never saw that stuff. And Pillman and Liger were just on another level. And this is Liger at the top of his powers. This is Liger, not the Liger at the end of his career where he's doing what he can, but his body has paid a toll and it's catching up to him. This is peak Liger, peak Pillman.
Real quick, sorry to cut you off. Didn't Brian Pillman Jr. was the first match of AEW? Because I think didn't they do that though? Like, didn't they do that?
Would that be a junior?
No, it was junior because his dad was the first Nitro match, right?
Yeah, wasn't the first Nitro or first AEW match Cody Rhodes and Sammy Guevara?
Maybe. I thought they tried to do something with Pillman Jr. at first of like Dynamite match. Let's see. I'm pulling up right now the debut episode of Dynamite. Cody versus Sammy. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought maybe it was something else. I could be. I'm just thinking of something incorrect there. But yeah, it was Cody and Sammy. MJF versus Brandon Cutler was the second match of that show.
Yeah. Wow. Things have changed quite a bit in AEW, haven't they?
Jesus Christ.
They used to let Brandon Cutler wrestle. That's such a good question here from the chat. Himbo Warlock. Do you think weight classes are more limiting or more exciting, giving talent something to shoot for or somewhere to move up? In the time they had them, I think they're good, but that junior heavyweight style is so
universal,
mainstream now, so universal. Yeah. Like if you watch the average wrestling match these days, it has more in common with the cruiserweight matches of the 90s than the heavyweight matches. Yeah. No matter how big the guys are, no matter how big they are, it doesn't matter. Brian Cage wrestles like a cruiserweight. Yeah. Not everybody does, but even the bigger guys now are usually more athletic. They're usually more in that style. It's just the way wrestling has evolved. I think it makes less sense now that we're in a post-kayfabe world.
Yeah,
and
I guess that was where my question was going to come in. You were saying that this all started with kayfabe, but were they actually doing like weigh-ins?
No, I mean they acted like they were.
And I mean, like, and secondly, like everything is like, okay, so you're gonna tell me that I'm not saying that I even freaking know. I'm just throwing out a number here. Don't come at me for actual like statistics. Wardlow or let's go with Braun Strowman weighs 872 pounds. Really though, like, you know, like I feel like they bill it to make them look bigger.
If you're big, they clock you in a couple inches higher. If you're
Right.
they clock your weight a couple of inches higher. Yeah, so that's always been a thing. But I also think that you have a moment where you're not just in the kayfabe aspect, but just it's kind of thrown in your face that this is entertainment at this point, and to the weight barriers are kind of out the window, and sometimes on even an independent scene, gender barriers are out the window. But
Right.
when you have companies maybe like ROH who still try to make it more of a sport athletic competition, or New Japan, or those style of companies, your heavyweight, like your junior weight, the heavyweight still work in those capacities.
Yeah,
But in
and New
America, I think the American wrestling is kind of beyond that, and I don't know if that
Yeah.
it translates as well.
And New Japan actually did that. Like New Japan, Will Ospreay was the light heavyweight champion, junior heavyweight champion, and moved up. And when he
Yeah.
moved up, he started wrestling differently. He started doing less high flying and more of a mat based style, a more hit the big move style, like it's like the AEW New Japan style of today. And that's where I think it falls in. I think the best compromise on this has been what TNA did for the longest time with the X division, where they would openly say it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. But the expectation was kind of set without saying it explicitly. Like
It's a higher flyer.
it's the match, but it's high flying mostly, but it's also we're gonna have the exciting matches. It's where even the big guys are gonna do crazy stuff. Like Samoa Joe was a longtime X Division champion.
Yeah.
And so it's something where you can really
Appreciate you
on
joining the conversation as well, Himbo Warlock. That's really appreciative.
it's something where it was typically used by WCW to say these are our smaller, more athletic guys, and we're going to give them something to fight over, because they were in that mindset like WWF was of, well, this guy's under 220 pounds, we can't give him the world title. Like, and
AEW's putting that's your world champion right now, and then the big guys
Right.
in your company are kind of built like big doofuses who can't win matches, or they're just too big and then they find a way to lose.
Right.
They're more of an obstacle. They're more of an obstacle for the champion than they are the top of the mountain. Where in WWE they would probably be the top of the mountain for being the big guy.
Right. And when they actually phased that light heavyweight title out in 1992, part of that thinking might be, well, you know what? Bret Hart isn't a giant muscle guy, and he's the WWF champion. And our champion, well, at that point, their champion was Vader. So it was like, can Brian Pillman realistically wrestle Vader? I mean, yes, now he can, but back then it was like, no, he's too small.
Yeah.
So it's passed around. It's mainly a vehicle for Brian Pillman, but they're about to put Pillman heel. They're switching him heel. They're putting him in the Hollywood Blonde. So they just kind of phase out the title. Pillman drops to the Brad Armstrong. Brad Armstrong gets hurt. It goes away. And it stays away until 1996 or late 1995, excuse me. And at this point, the wrestling land, I'm sorry, it was 1996. My mistake. Nitro is on the air. They're looking to fill I think it's up to 2 hours already. And they're looking to really differentiate WCW from WWF. And at this point, WWF has Shawn Michaels at the top, but you still have a lot of big guys. You still have your Diesels, your Undertakers, Vader's over there now. You still have your big monsters, and Vince McMahon is still a body guy who is not going to take a guy who is under 6 feet tall and under 200 pounds and take him seriously. So this leaves a gap in the market for WCW, and tape trading is becoming more of a thing. The early version of the internet is becoming a thing. Not so much because it's all dial-up at this point, not so much trading actual videos because it would take forever, but just word of mouth of, hey, have you heard about this guy from Japan? Have you heard about this guy from Mexico? And When Worlds Collide happens a little bit before this, and ECW is bringing in a lot of luchadors. They're bringing in Rey Mysterio and Psychosis and Juventud Guerrera, and even though he's not a cruiserweight, Conan. And these are guys that and a lot of the more exciting guys from ECW are the people that, like Bischoff is saying, well, if WWF's not going to bite on these guys because they're quote unquote work rate guys, I'm going to do it and have really exciting matches. So he brings in all those guys I just mentioned, plus Chris Benoit, plus Steve Malenko, all these undersized guys who are among the best wrestlers in the world as far as just bell to bell. So this is where, and it's also building off of their relationship with New Japan. And in fact, the Cruiserweight title is something that starts in New Japan, where they have a tournament to crown the first champion, and it's one of their guys. It's Shinjiro Otani, who is a legendary junior heavyweight in New Japan. Unfortunately, he was injured very badly. He hung on for a while and was injured very badly. I don't know if he ever fully recovered. I know he was like paralyzed basically in a match a few years ago. But Otani is your first champion, and it keeps it for a little bit. And then they start to slowly introduce it on Nitro. And it was weird because you had this inverted pyramid in WCW at the time where your best wrestlers are at the bottom of the card, but they're having the best matches. And then your main event matches are like Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper or Hulk
the old
Hogan
WWF guys.
Yeah.
It would essentially be like if AEW front loaded the front of the card with all the guys they got from the indie scene, and then the end of the card was your Jerichos and Copelands and your that's right.
Copeland can still kind of go. Jericho is starting to hit that Hogan zone. Of it. It's funny because he would be a great manager, but I guess he just wants to wrestle. And there is that talent disparity, but they're doing pretty well with pushing guys like Swerve, and they're doing a better job of shuffling the deck where Hulk Hogan wouldn't even look at Dean Malenko. He probably would think of, like, just even wrestling Dean Malenko would probably be beneath him because he's so small. But this has given those guys something to fight over, and they're having great matches. Malenko and Mysterio and Psychosis, they are tearing it up, and they're tearing it up in the first or second match, but they're still tearing it up.
Yeah,
and it's something that's also helping with their New Japan relationship. By the end of 1996, there's a tournament in Japan for the J Crown. And it's a very unique tournament because back then, all the Japanese companies, All Japan was usually a little bit more isolationist than the New Japan and some of the other ones. Yeah. But All Japan New Japan comes up with this concept of, we're going to take all these different junior heavyweight or light heavyweight, or nobody really used the word cruiserweight besides WCW, but we're going to take all these titles for like smaller guys, and we are going to put them together. So they take a junior heavyweight title. It was really a Michinoku Pro title, but it was called the British Commonwealth Junior Heavyweight title, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, the CMLL the NWA World Welterweight Championship, which was one of CMLL's main titles, the NWA Junior Heavyweight title, like all these other ones, including the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, which they had way back in the early 80s when they were bringing in Tiger Mask and the Cobra, which was George Takano, and Dynamite Kid were having all these like really exciting matches back then. They made this title. They used it for like a year or two, and then they decided they were done with it. I think Tatsumi Fujinami is the one that took it from Japan. And it was literally just defended as a Japanese title for most of its existence. It was defended as just another title that they would pass around a little bit. And this becomes part of the J Crown, and it's won by Ultimo Dragon. And Ultimo Dragon, as he has the J Crown, it's a very, very famous picture, winds up winning the WCW Cruiserweight title, winds up winning a few other titles. And I take that back. It was actually also a big thing in Mexico, this title. It bounced around from Mexico to Japan and all these other places. But eventually, while he's in WCW, while he is holds the J Crown, which includes the WWF Light Heavyweight title, Ultimo Dragon, a WCW wrestler, also has the Cruiserweight title. He wound up with 10 titles at once. And there's a very famous picture where he has a belt around two belts around his waist, a bunch on his arms. He has one around his neck. And this is kind of the height of the Cruiserweight division as the beacon of work rate. And it's Malenko, it's Psychosis, it's Hoovy, it's Ray, it's Ultimo Dragon. They're really anchoring the division. And then by the time the NWO comes around, WCW is getting very much more sports entertainment focused. the cruiserweight title is getting caught up in that. Six, formerly the 1-2-3 Kid, Sean Waltman winds up winning it, and Alex Wright winds up winning it, and Chris Jericho winds up winning it. But Chris Jericho isn't fully Chris Jericho yet. He's kind of just happy-go-lucky babyface Chris Jericho. He hasn't really found that character yet, but he will, and it becomes a big part of his title's history. And this is where you have probably the most legendary run of the cruiser, or most legendary match of the cruiserweight title, which is that Eddie Ray mask versus title match at Halloween Havoc that kind of lives on as this all-time great match, one of the greatest matches in WCW history. That's during this run. And eventually it's bouncing back and forth between guys, but eventually Chris Jericho gets a hold of it. And he gets, as a heel, he gets a hold of it in 1998. Or actually, I think he wins it and then turns heel. And this is where you get Chris Jericho becoming a star. Chris Jericho becomes a star while he's the Cruiserweight champion, because this is where he becomes the man of 1,004 holds. And he becomes the guy who's just kind of running roughshod over the division. And he's doing so in a very funny way. And everybody's out to get him, and he's got a funny little snarky nickname for everybody, and he brings out, like, he's feuding with Dean Malenko primarily. He brings out somebody that's supposed to be Dean Malenko's father, but it's Boris Malenko instead of Boris Malenko, and little things like that. And he is just so entertaining. And this is still my favorite run of Chris Jericho's career. 30 years later, almost. This is still my favorite version. And I know I'm in the minority. It's still my favorite version of Chris Jericho. To the point when he finally loses the title. Like, I think they did a thing where, like, Dean Malenko said he was retired. He lost a match, and then he's like, I'm done. I can't beat him. And he walks out. And Chris Jericho takes Hoovie's mask at this point, too, I believe. Because I know he lost. Hoovie lost his mask to Jericho while he was Jericho's cruiserweight champion, and because he would wear his mask, he would have all these, like, little trophies. He beat Prince Iake, and he took his, like, legs, wreath, and stuff like that. He would just take trophies from whoever he beat. He was like a serial killer, and so they do a battle royal where whoever wins the battle royal is going to be Chris Jericho's opponent that night. And Jericho's doing the ring introductions, and he's just insulting everybody in the battle royal. And it's won by this guy, Ciclope, who was a lower level lucha guy who they never really did a whole lot of things with. And then Ciclope takes off the mask, and it's Dean Malenko. And it's not like Dean Malenko was always Ciclope. It's like, oh, he's just wearing Ciclope's outfit. Yeah. And Jericho freaks out. Jericho, like, loses his mind and goes nuts and everything. And Jericho winds up beating him, or Malenko winds up beating him, but they go to all these things where Jericho's saying he's a conspiracy victim. He wasn't wrestling as himself. They had a Nitro in DC. He goes to the steps of the Capitol with a megaphone and a sign demanding to be reinstated as the Cruiserweight champion. Just great stuff. And eventually he does get the title back. They do, like, a long retroactive dusty finish, but that era of Chris Jericho was incredible. And then he does finally ultimately drop it to Hoovie, and that's when we start to see, like, a new generation of, like, the Billy Kidmans of the world and guys like that. Because really, I think, though, just that up until the end of that Jericho run, that is the golden age of the Cruiserweight title. Because not to say you didn't have great stuff after that, but by the time you get, like, Disco Inferno as your champion and Evan Courageous and guys like that, it's tough. And it got embroiled in controversy because Lenny Lane had the title, and it's when they were doing a thing with Lenny and Lodi where they're kind of just supposed to be almost like the ambiguously gay duo. It was like Billy and Chuck before Billy and Chuck. It had, like, these overtones of these guys are gay, and oh no, you can't have gay people on TV in 1999 or 1998. That's terrible.
The world can't handle that.
It can't handle it.
Come on, Y2K is already coming. This is too much for us.
Y2J came later. Yeah.
No, at this point, Y2J is coming in August of 99.
Yeah.
Jericho had already gotten out of there. He wound up being like the TV champion for a little bit, and that he really brought. He was still a really good wrestler, but he really brought a sense of character to the division. And some of the guys are just all-time great wrestlers, like Ray, like Malenko, like Ultimo Dragon. So that level was starting to kind of peter off a little bit, and then by the end of 1999, Vince Russo's in there, and Medusa's winning the title. Nothing against Medusa; she had a great career, but she's winning.
Wasn't there two women cruiserweight championships?
Yeah,
Medusa and Daphne had the title.
Yeah, and at that point, we were already full Vince Russo at that point. Medusa's not even the worst of it. Oklahoma, Ed Ferreira, Vince Russo's writing partner, doing a fake Jim Ross bit, won the cruiserweight title. That's probably the low point.
Yeah,
and although they did get it off him by saying he was over the weight limit, because I think Ed Ferreira was a bit over 225 pounds at that point. And they tried to do a little bit with it. Like Chris Candido winds up winning it when he winds up going to WCW. Daphne had it. Lance Storm had it, and then he gave it to Elix Skipper. This was a point, and this was a for the end of WCW. This is as good as their angles got. Lance Storm won all of the undercard titles at once. He won the U.S. title. He won the hardcore title. He won the I think they had gotten rid of the TV title at this point, but he won the cruiserweight title. And he changed all their names. Like he put a sticker on the U.S. title, and it was the Canadian title, and that's the one he kept. And then he took the dumb one is he wins the hardcore title, and he calls it the Saskatchewan Hardcore Invitational title, the shit title.
Yeah,
love that.
It's horrible.
What title was Crash wrestling and he had the scale? It wasn't the cruiserweight, was it?
No, he just had the scale because him and Hardcore Holly always had a thing where they said they were both over 400 pounds and they were super heavyweights.
That's right. Yeah,
that's why he would have a scale.
What a missed opportunity to have Crash like, I can't compete for that title, I'm too heavy. And he has the scale.
Yeah, that was how little they cared about their light heavyweight title. Because at this point, by the end of 97, when the cruiserweight title's really popping, right after that Ray Eddie match, WWF is like, well, this is something that they have over us. They have this cruiserweight division. People love their cruiserweight division. We need a cruiserweight division. God damn. So they do a tournament, and their light heavyweight title was never really given priority. Like Taka Michinoku was a pretty good champion. He was the first champion. He wrestled Aguila at WrestleMania 14, who wound up being S.A. Rios. But eventually it was like Gilbert had it when Gilbert was kind of a joke character. I think Christian won it in his first like TV match in the company. I think Scotty Too Hottie had it for like over a year and never defended it or something like that. Or almost a year and never defended it. It was an afterthought of a title. It was just like, oh, we're gonna bring in a light heavyweight division too. And like Scott Putski was part of it. And Scott Putski, I mean, he may have been under 225 pounds. I don't even know what they said their weight limit was, but he looked more like a WWF guy. He was a big muscle guy, but he was also he got hurt in one of the matches. And like Brian Christopher was in the division. It was a pale copy. It was something where it just illustrated how much better the cruiserweight division was in WCW than the light heavyweight division was in the WWF. It almost made it worse than if like Taka had it for almost a year and like didn't really do a whole lot with it. Christian had it for a little bit, Gilbert, S.A. Rios, and eventually it did get merged in with the cruiserweight title, and it was such an afterthought that they just kept the name cruiserweight title when it went to WWF. But it's not done. It's not quite done yet. So Lance Storm gives it to Elix Skipper, and they call it the 101 kilogram and under championship. And the last guy to really try to do something with was Shane Helms. It was after they broke up 3 Count, and they were calling him Sugar Shane Helms. Yeah,
and that's when WCW was then bought by like that. Shane Helms was the first like transition from WCW to WWF champion.
Yeah, well, he was still the WCW Cruiserweight champion, but it was during the invasion, and he lost it to Billy Kidman. But it was still called the WCW Cruiserweight title. Like X-Pac had it. I think
Billy Kidman's technically the first WWF cruiserweight champion. Yeah,
right, because he was the champion when the invasion angle kind of ended, and actually Tajiri was the cruiserweight champion when, even though he was I think because I believe Tajiri was part of.
It goes Shane Helms, Kidman, X-Pac, Kidman, Tajiri.
Right, and while Tajiri's champion is when it flips over because the invasion.
Tajiri loses it, and then it goes to a SmackDown title, and then Billy Kidman and Tajiri trade off, and then it becomes WWE Cruiserweight Championship, and Hurricane Helms has it back.
Yeah, like the in between is when it changes. Like it changes while like in between those two reigns.
Yeah, it's
not like this next match this will now be the WWE title and Kidman won it. It became like the WWE Cruiserweight title when they finished the invasion angle at Survivor Series 2001. Those secondary titles they kind of got rid of all of them. They got the US title went away. They brought it back years later. The WCW tag titles went away. They never came back. Yeah. And the weird one was the Cruiserweight title because the light heavyweight title went away.
Mm-hmm.
The light heavyweight title went away, and it just stayed the Cruiserweight title. But it was a WWF Cruiserweight title, later the WWE Cruiserweight title, and it really kind of languishes until you get like the Hurricane. The Hurricane is where they really find out like something really cool to do with Shane Helms. He's a great feud with Jamie Noble, who is again finding his character. His character as far as the redneck, the dirty redneck, and Matt Hardy version 1 was really cool there, and Ray won it a bunch of times. But yeah,
I like this title because I loved when Tajiri was always in the mix. Like I was a Tajiri guy. Like I loved watching Tajiri wrestle.
Yeah, and I like Tajiri too. And Paul London was excellent. They had enough quality guys. Ultimo Dragon came back for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. During the WWE run, Jacqueline then became a woman who held the Cruiserweight Championship too.
Yeah, and then
not for long, but she had it.
Yeah, and then you had some more like gimmicky ones like Chavo Classic, Chavo Guerrero Sr. won it for a little bit. Not to say, I mean, Chavo Guerrero Sr. was a great wrestler for his time, but at this point, when he is the now WWE Cruiserweight Champion, he is just about 60 years old. I think he was. He was getting close to 60 years old.
Nunzio had it for a show in Italy. I guess they knew they were going to Italy, so they put it on Nunzio.
But yeah, he had it a few times. Kid Cash, very, very forgotten Cruiserweight champion, Kid Cash. Yeah. And then the final Cruiserweight champion, it ends with WWE gimmickry. Hornswoggle wins it, and then the title just kind of goes away.
Yeah.
They just kind of make it go away. But it does come back. It does come back in 2006. There's 2016, excuse me. Take your accolades while you can. Take them while you can.
I hope you know what. I've been saying I like Eagle fans, but you know what, Brian? I hope we do win so I can just kick it in your face. No, I'm not that person.
Yes, you are.
When we beat him at Pilgrim, I celebrated for my team, but I didn't rub it in his face.
No, it's fine.
Listen,
you're supposed to be happy when your
5-year-old girl cry because you wanted Darby Allin to lose.
I will rub it in your face if you're a wrestling fan, but I enjoy watching sports, but I'm definitely not invested in sports like I used to be.
Wait, let the Commander stay good for a few years and see if you still feel that way. Let this run be sustained.
My whole life I watched them be mediocre and bad. And so I'm happy with them good, but I'm not I don't know if I ever become that fan of just being a dick about it. You know, I don't know. But
I know how you feel because I'm still riding that wave of 2018. Like that was good enough for me. It's like, yeah, sports could be over now. Yeah, so I got what I wanted. Sports could be over now.
For the video people watching, here is the first iteration of the belt. That's the best photo I can get. It's a video game one, but I do like this belt. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, it did. It was a cool belt.
Then it goes to the WWF's aspect of things. Now this isn't on our list, and it can be talked about at a future episode because technically this is the end of the Cruiserweight, but then WWF did make the 205 Live, and then it went over to NXT and became the Cruiserweight Championship. But that's for another time, for another day. We will visit those at another time. But yeah, that's pretty much the Cruiserweight Championship. Some other things I have pulled up here is if you want to have some fun with this, the Person who held the title the longest combined days. Any guesses?
Is that Shane Helms?
Shane Helms, number 1. Number 2 is Rey Mysterio. Number 3 is Chavo. And they group him in with Lieutenant Loco too. Billy Kidman.
That was just a bad gimmick.
Yeah, Billy Kidman. Tajiri is going to be your number 5, and then right outside the top 5 will be Chris Jericho at 6. The number of reigns is going to be the highest one is going to be Rey Mysterio at 8, Billy Kidman at 7, Chavo at 6, Hoovy at 5, and then right below the 5 spot going in for 6 is going to be Chris Jericho. And then that's pretty much it. Combined days total, and then there was also combined days by WWE as well. If because some people had it in both companies.
Yeah, like Helms. Helms had at the very tail end of WCW. A lot of that Helms run is when he was, I believe, Gregory Helms, and it was just kind of like an afterthought of a title. It was one that they just didn't really do a whole lot with.
Yeah. That's pretty much going to do it. Just another real quick housekeeping thing for the podcast. Tons and tons of content. So if you guys can join that membership tier, and you will get a bunch of content before everybody else, and you'll get bonus content. So one of the things that we will start recording more, it'll probably just be solo content with myself or stuff with me and Lily. We're going to be doing more watch alongs. So some people really like the watch alongs, but from doing a live watch along podcast, not smart. Because if someone joins the stream late and they see it, they're like, well, then I have to find it and do the time placement. It's gonna be one of those episodes where you turn on your own, turn on us, turn on the episode, and watch an old episode with us, and you can listen along and chat and do whatever you want to do in that aspect. If you like the live aspect of things, we could possibly do something else too, where we make a Discord night and everyone just shows up in the Discord. We'll record it we'll record it to put out for everyone later, but if you're a member of the Discord, you get to join the live stream and hang out with us and watch along live with us, so we can do that as well. So there's a lot of different ways we can interact with you guys, bring you in on this journey, but still film the content for other people to enjoy later. Or if you're not visibly or don't have the access to those things, or you don't have Discord or have no interest in Discord, you can still listen to the podcast. Like I said, check out the YouTube channel for the link to the old channel, the old Tornado Tag. We're going to be uploading re-episodes on there. Right now, we're at a point where I have some people who are way better at this YouTube thing than I am, looking at my content, looking at my analytics, looking at where I'm at and why I'm not getting pushed. And it seems just like YouTube doesn't know where to place me. And it's frustrating. It really, really is frustrating. I'm being put after videos for things that like have nothing to do with the topic of stuff we're doing, which is really hurting the growth of this channel. So essentially where we got now is just word of mouth and just me grinding out there, getting my name out there. But so we're going to try to see if the other channels we can maybe populate more and get in there so we can grow this and maybe, do cool things. But so go subscribe to the other channel and show it some love. It is below on the very bottom of my ABJ podcast channel. Pretty much all I got to plug. I know we plug PPW. Lily, anything you want to talk about before we get out here? You've been pretty quiet all night.
Yeah, I do. I do have things to talk about.
Oh, God. All right. We have another hour here.
Oh,
lights are out. BP's done. We'll see. Roll the credits. No, go ahead, Lily.
No, I just wanted to say PPW was a whole bunch of fun this past weekend. And I am looking forward to designing things again, and like kind of I guess I could say I've kind of taken a step back from making my own content because I didn't know where I wanted to go with that, and now I'm kind of like, we have a job set up where we're going to be working weekends, and that means that during the week I have more time to focus on my business. So I'm starting to get into like getting more, obviously I've been crocheting this whole episode, but I'm like getting patterns together for stuff that I want to make, and I'm trying to make new things. So keep an eye out on the social media.
And if you want customs, hit her up. She does custom content when it comes, or custom crafting content. It's another whole other. Never mind.
Check links in the
yeah. Jay Henry also says, question, is the old light heavyweight channel in records with a cruiserweight? It is not. The light heavyweight championship is its own thing. When WCW,
I believe,
according to Wikipedia, they're two different.
I believe WWE may recognize the Pillman Liger, Scotty Flamingo, Brad Armstrong light heavyweight title from like 1992 as the same as the Cruiserweight title, and that it was just inactive for 4 years.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it for us. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, check out the channels below. They will be updating very soon, and you guys can check out previous content or new content on there. But yeah, we're going to try our best to keep this growing, keep this rocking. Once again, we only got one today, but thank you to the newest member to the channel, Anthony Nelenetti, showing us some love. If you want to join the $5 tier, tons and tons of content. I'm not sure if you're an old Chikara fan, but this just recorded on Monday, and I'll be uploading it tonight. But this episode, BP, was the best. Friday, actually, what's today? Tuesday? Tomorrow? Oh, wait, where are we at?
Today is Tuesday.
Tomorrow, I'm doing an episode that'll upload later on that night. Thursday, I'll have another episode I'll be doing with Katrina Creed. I don't have the other graphic up, but it's not a wrestling related one. And then I'm recording with Deshaun Pratt on the 25th.
Very cool. Love Deshaun Pratt.
Just another episode with Jason Hendricks, who's currently on the NWA Exodus roster. Such a good dude, and recovering from a knee injury as we speak, and he should be back sooner than later. But that's pretty much going to do it for us. Get your homework in, everybody. Maybe we'll do a Discord night where we watch Royal Rumble 2000 together, but that's next week's episode. So when you tune in next week, we'll be doing the review.
If we're still on speaking terms,
if we're still buddies after this week, we will be. Unless my team wins and BP hates me, I don't know. But on my end, I'm good. Stranger things have happened in my friendships. But BP's like, you were cool when your team. When I was able to just keep your team down here.
When they were mediocre.
Yeah.
It was more fun when you were a doormat.
Yeah. But I will say this.
Can you become a Giants fan, please?
Yeah. The best part about this whole thing is, realistically, our two teams are going to become the top teams for quite some time if they keep this trajectory, and that's I generally enjoy watching both of our teams play, regardless if they're playing each other or other teams. I don't mind the birds. Like, there are certain aspects of the fans that do piss me off, like when the fans start throwing things at people or dumping beers on people's heads, but just the 90% of the time it's just fans riling you up, like, your team sucks, go Birds. But when they're like calling you dumb cunts and that's not good. That's literally the video. The guy literally was just this girl was sitting in the fans.
Your monetization, that's out now.
This dude was sitting in she was just watching the game, and this guy was just being a dick. But when people called him out, even Eagle fans were like, "Yo, get this guy out of here!" And he's banned forever. So it is not like how it used to be. They will rile you up. They will harass you. But for the most part, as long as you don't get physical first, they will not physically attack you. From what
the best part about this whole thing is just dunking on the Cowboys. That's the best part.
Well,
no, possibly going to the Super Bowl is the best thing, but then the second best thing is dunking on the Cowboys.
Possibly, yeah. Jay Henry, thank you so much.
Anything can happen.
You're right. Hey, listen, a 4-win team turning around, and we're one game away from the Super Bowl. I'm a happy boy regardless.
Yeah,
but
as you should be.
We will see you all next week, hopefully. That's going to do it for Tornado Tag. We are out of here. Here's some music by the Converse Kid.